Nancy Glascow has served one term on the board since she was elected to the board in September of 2018, despite the claim appearing on her biography that she has now served 2 stints on the board. In the months leading up to her election, Glascow co-authored the 2017 rental tax petition with Marty Shecter, demanding that the board collect an 8% rental tax from owners who offer their property for rent. Glascow happens to be a Pineside property owner who does not offer her property for rent. Under her plan, Glascow will be amongst the 80% of property owners who would contribute to less than 50% of the operating budget of the association. Glascow's motive in co-authoring such a petition is greed. Shecter, speaking on behalf of Glascow, spells that out in his letter, undated, that the objective of the tax is to, quote, stabilize or lower the assessment, end quote. Glascow herself has made similar statements on February 10th, 2018, at a community exchange meeting. Glascow also served on the beach patrol prior to her service on the board. On September 21st, 2019, Glascow voted in favor of a motion initiated by Steve Larsen to reserve committee chair positions to elected board members. Shecter and Steve Larsen were reportedly looking to remove David Taylor as chair of the Beach Patrol Committee and install Shecter to replace Taylor. On October 19, 2019, Glascow voted for a motion put forward by Steve Larsen to prohibit dogs on the beach, reversing an earlier decision by the board on the grounds that dogs on the beach during the summer season pose a health risk to children. Glascow's vote to prohibit dogs on the beach was the first such vote that broke ranks with Shecter, who she apologized to, knowing how important Shecter regards the freedom to walk his dogs on the beach in the morning. Other than that one motion regarding dogs on the beach, Glascow votes in lockstep with Shecter, effectively amplifying Schecter's influence on the board and in the community. Glascow has virtually no accomplishments while serving on the board. On her election, Glascow did not volunteer to chair any committee on the event that Mary Bird resigned her position as chair of the Social Committee in May of 2020. Homeowners Association President Marty Shecter appointed Glascow as her replacement. Glascow is currently the chair of the Social Committee. The Social Committee has no events planned on the horizon. Glascow organized a 4th of July weekend competition in the 2020 summer season. Glascow published the results of the competition on the Facebook group Middlesex Beach Community. The competition was arguably her one accomplishment. Ironically, in her campaign biography, Glascow says she has more, quote, work to do. Presumably, Glascow is referring to her advocacy for a rental tax, which she supports alongside Shecter, Larsen, and at one time, former board member Michael Nora. Other than advocating for a rental tax levied against rental properties, Glascow has not performed any tangible work that the community has actually benefited from. Advocating a position of an ill-conceived covenant change involving a tax in the context of a homeowners association is not necessarily work. Rather, it's counterproductive. Again, as a homeowner, I expect the board members to act within the laws that govern homeowners associations. A rental tax in the context of a homeowners association is a violation of the state's laws governing homeowners associations on its face. The resident lawyer, Mary Schreider Fox, has advised the board, including Glascow, of this fact a number of times. However, Glascow is undeterred in her campaign to have someone else underwrite the cost of operating the association. Under Glascow's plan, the burden of operating the association will largely fall on oceanside rental properties, of which I own one. Glascow was openly critical of then Beach Patrol Chair David Taylor over the course of the board meeting held on October 19, 2019, exacerbating the dysfunction on the board and the committee chair, David Taylor. Glascow levied her criticism at a time when Marty Shecter was eyeing wresting the chair position from David Taylor. The board ultimately voted against reserving chair positions to board members, which effectively would have handed the chair position over to Shecter. I personally cannot endorse Nancy Glascow for a second term on the board for the reasons stated. Glascow is one of 5 board members who perform 10% of the work of keeping the association operating. A number of sources on the board report Glascow to be a nice lady, zero value added. I cannot speak to Glascow's character, as the only dialogue I ever had with Glascow happened on October 19, 2019, over the course of a board meeting when Glascow falsely accused me of digitally recording the board meeting. Perhaps Glascow was confusing me with Joe Ruskowskis, who admitted to digitally recording the meeting.